Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Gratitude Talks with Joy and Sean. We're glad to have you here. I know it's been a while, right? We don't
Please
even know
verify
the name.
that name.
I know we don't even know the name, but we do have the
That's not
word
what you told us
gratitude in
last
there. See,
time.
grateful, grateful back here. Where am I at
Yep,
here? Yeah.
absolutely.
Grateful, grateful, grateful. So I'm grateful for you, Sean, and we are grateful for everybody that tunes in and lets us at least give you a laugh now and then as we
Yeah,
go
that's why
back
we're
and
here.
forth.
Comic relief.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, so hey, what are we talking about today?
Grateful, blessed, thank you, grateful,
Grateful.
gratitude. You know what? So I'm gonna get on my soapbox. I've had some people in my BNI group I've showed, they're excited. Nah, it's not right for me right now. And I just gotta want to go, what? WTF? What? And I think there are a lot of businesses out there. And a lot of big businesses, the Amazons of the world, the Walmarts of the world, the this of the world, they could give a shit about us. They have so many customers.
Hmm.
But the majority of the small businesses out there, and those can range from, 10,000 a month to still a few millions a month. I think there's some arrogance out there that they don't need to stay in front of their clients.
Hmm.
It's not the responsibility is not for your customer to remember you. It's for you to remember your customer,
Hmm.
so then they will remember you. And there is in the new webinar, there is a section right there that's what it says. You need to remember your client. It doesn't say that fully, but you need to remember your client's friends and family so they do remember you.
Hmm.
Because if you're not doing that, and I think so, if you're not doing that, you're not going to get referrals and they're not going to remember you.
Right.
I think we need to take more of a posture on that.
Hmm.
What's the value? It's not $1 a card or 50, whatever that. The value is you remembering your customers so they do remember you.
Hmm. Hmm.
If you're transactional, then you're not going to get it anyway. But
Hmm.
the majority of businesses out there aren't. They need to have referrals from their client. They want more referrals from their client, and this is the perfect way to do it.
Hmm.
Does that make any sense at all?
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah, it does. It does. And and I'm going to kind of piggyback on that a little bit and kind of take it to another level and or to a different look. And that is like you as that person with your own clients,
Absolutely.
your own customers. Okay. We're asking businesses to keep top of mind with their folks for referrals. Are you doing the same thing with yours?
Absolutely.
So that's one way to look at it. And back to the business side of it, I actually have had a couple examples to share with you on that. Talk about that is I had a client that over the holidays, sent out like 400 cards.
Hmm.
And they are like a construction, I want to say construction, they do roofing, they do windows,
Okay.
they do stuff like that,
Yep.
but a construction company. Well, I come to find out that a whole lot of these cards in the course of months afterwards got returned for bad addresses and stuff like that. And it's like, and of course, when it was a BNI member,
Sure.
but it's his boss's company or whatever. So he tells me about all these that came back. And I said, well, I need to, can you screenshot them? Can you give me information so we can start doing some research to find out? Of course, they threw them all away. Yeah. So we're back to square. But in the meantime, I did contact the office and just had Walter like, did something happen or whatever. In the meantime, I looked at the database and found out there was a whole slew of them. They had somebody in-house or they paid somebody themselves to bring their database over, and most of the zip codes shifted and the zip code column was not correct. There were towns that had totally the wrong zip codes on them, kind of thing. So, but
Use
hey,
our
the generous
experts,
company
please.
the generous company we did make some extra, we gave them some extra cards and stuff and they could use them next Christmas or whenever. And I talked with them and I said, look, I said, how about we do a spring campaign, to thank your customers
Hmm.
for the
Sure.
spring,
Yeah.
and let's just thank them for their whole year with you. And, and of course they wanted to throw in a 20%, whatever. I was totally against it, but I will tell you, you do what the customer wants, right?
Yeah.
So we did. And they ended up buying more cards to do to the people, because we didn't reimburse them for everything, but we did
Right.
reimburse some. But they ended up buying more so that all these customers could get this spring card. And he actually stood up at BNI this past week, and that card, I got mine from them because they've done some work for us, and I got my card from them. And the next day was our BNI meeting, and he brought up about how they already had a phone call for somebody. So, now where am I going with all that?
I
It's
don't
just,
know.
yeah, I don't know either.
Bringing it back around.
But it just, we worked on the card to make sure that they said thank you in there. We worked on the card to say, how important and valued they were. And, Sean and I both shaking our heads. We are not ones to throw in that 20%. We all believe in the 80/20 rule, now if he had been doing all these cards all along, and then want to do something, and then
Right. Right.
at
That's the
20%, he
ask.
would
You
do
got to
that
do the ask in there.
you know but my big client, my big financial advisor that has bought the big package, and
Right.
they had 10,000 cards for a year to use and everything, and they're winding up on their year, and not all the projects got started the way he wanted, so we worked this week lining up what we could do next, so we can use these cards
Right.
up. And it was interesting because he runs the company, but I usually work with another person, with all the cards and stuff. And I brought him into the site, and he was talking about how he wants all his staff to do the individual cards, the ones that make those touches, not just the every other month kind of thing that we
Right.
do. And it was interesting because he was looking and as I was showing him, and I said, you can click on the card and you can see which one of your staff are sending the cards,
Right.
the individual cards, because they send cards and gifts all the time, right? And it was kind of like, it was so funny because he looked at one, he said, "What card is this to so and so?" And so we pulled up, and here it was a sympathy card. Someone in her family had passed, and all he could do was say, "I didn't know that. I needed to know that." That's where his mindset is with his company. He
Right.
says they're his people.
Right.
He wants all of the people to know, that we care about them.
Right.
Now he fortunately had this kid's probably going to get a raise, because he listened to him and did it, but and he kept saying to me over and over again as we were talking, he said, I want everything has to have gratitude in it. Everything has to have appreciation in it. Everything that goes out. Every other month we do it. And I had to convince them, Sean, that I've been working with him almost a year now, and we've sent out big campaign cards 4 times, five
Mhm.
times. Okay, I had to tell him that it's okay now to do one for ask, a referral,
Right.
80/20. So
Right.
we did put up a nice referral card that's going out this next month coming up. But that's where his mindset, it takes a person that understands how important and valued their customers are. You know?
And there are millions of those type of business owners out
Yes,
there.
I
It's
totally
just
agree.
our job to find them,
Hmm.
attract them,
Hmm.
post about the stuff like this.
Hmm.
Uh, it in you know what? It's one of those things where it almost sounds, well, I don't want to do an ask. I get business every time we send one that we just say we're grateful for you. So why you can do the ask card, and when you get crickets, that'll probably even drill it home more like, yeah, let's stick to the gratitude.
Yeah,
So, you
exactly.
know,
Exactly.
um, but
Yeah.
it, I really truly, even though you can shop online and you can do all this stuff, people still want to know that they're appreciated for doing business with you.
Hmm.
They want to hear thank you. And I think it's I think it's going to be even more and more of that as we get into more AI and stuff like that, that I want to
Yeah.
know that the person actually cares about me and I get a card from them.
Hmm.
Yeah, is it
Hmm.
automated? Right. But, or it might be an individual one,
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
sympathy card,
Right.
uh, a card that something they like. But
Hmm.
man, I think we are just in a perfect spot to get
Hmm.
this out there, and it's going to just grab hold and just we're going to look back at a couple years ago. Wow. Remember when we were just doing, 10,000 cards a day and now we do 150 or 300 or four, I mean, whatever the number is that's
Hmm.
going to multiply.
Hmm.
Because I do think, the right people are out there that just don't know about us that need to know
Right.
about
Right. Yeah. And I think we all know too, it's important for us to, you know, do that gratitude towards them too.
it. Absolutely.
I don't know
Absolutely.
if if you do this, Sean. I know I do. When Terminex came the other day, and I do have the guy's individual cell phone number because they want to reach you that way.
Okay.
I send him an act card
Yeah.
saying thanks.
Thank you. For
Yeah,
him doing a job at your house.
yeah, yeah.
What's
They're doing
wrong
a
with this
job.
kid
Yeah,
here?
yeah, yeah. Do you kind of get the fact, that
Yeah. Oh,
there's,
wow. Okay. You're welcome.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
maybe not. Some would be like,
exactly,
yep, you're
exactly.
welcome.
So.
Wow, that was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that brings up another point. How many times you've been somewhere and someone come up and thanks you for the card, and you want to look them in the eye and say, "Imagine, just imagine if you did one of these or two of these a day to your clients." You
I
know?
try to bring that home in the webinar when Tom and I do it. Like
Mhm.
even the wider spread or wider reach, think any individual. Think if, you're right. Think if you did a couple of these a day, is that
Mm-hmm.
client ever going to leave you?
Right, right. Yeah.
Do you think they're going to recommend you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the little nugget that I don't know that we're getting across to business owners
Right, right,
enough. I,
right.
I know some are doing a great job at that, but I don't think enough of us are going, damn, it's not about the cost of the card.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It's about what that card would do. Yeah. So preaching to the choir, I know, but we need
Yeah,
to preach. We need to get on our pulpits a little higher and
yeah,
really,
yeah.
not be afraid to get that stance and go. This is why you do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
yeah. Exactly,
damn
exactly.
it. All right, I'm off my
Yeah.
soapbox. Preach it.
Preach it. Do it, preach it. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I hear
So,
you. I hear you. So, but anyways, it's funny you mentioned about the cards. Last night, I talk to people all the time about these offbeat holidays. They're like my favorite thing
yep.
to do. And Cinco de Mayo is coming up on May 5th.
And it's Taco Tuesday.
Yeah, well,
Whoa!
oh wow,
It's
all at
on
the same
Tuesday.
time. You're right. It is.
Yeah,
It
it's a
is.
double
So,
whammy.
well, I played around and did a Cinco de Mayo card last night, and and it was kind of like, okay, who am I going to send this to? It was so random. It was like, oh, this church group. Oh, I haven't sent anything to them. Oh, this group. I mean, I was
Yeah,
just picking groups
perfect.
and send them out. I mean, hey, let the higher beings direct your hand which ones
Oh
to send
yeah,
it to because
absolutely.
something's going to happen. No matter what you do. So.
I'll tell you, I kind of had the same thing. I was doing my birthday cards, went to Facebook, and I always look about a week or so ahead. And I saw this name he's a lender in Columbus, and I'm like, okay, I sent him a card. I'm like, and I just kept focusing on that name, and I'm like, what? I don't know why. And then, happy birthday, have a great day. And I got a reply back, hey, you still doing that card thing? Yeah, we need to talk. And I'm like, man, if you have a prompt, if you a thought on who you should send a card to, if somebody pops in your head, I just I need to do I need to do a better job of reaching out because they
Yeah.
always,
Yeah.
and I think we need to talk to our clients about that too. Like if you're thinking about Mrs. Johnson, there's a reason. She's
Hmm.
probably thinking about you. So send a card, send an act,
Hmm.
and you'd be surprised what's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, it's funny you say that because I had the person I have a meeting with on Monday. He was actually on the call last night. Was that Thursday night? Yeah, okay. But one one
last night was
yeah,
Thursday.
yeah, yeah. So I got him on air. But anyways, he reached out originally saying, you know what? I just love watching your upbeat quotes and your things on social media. He said, I just really love that. He says, I think we need to talk again about your services. And it was just like out of the clear blue, and it's like, wow. And it was funny because his mind, he did cross my mind not too long ago, just kind of wondering where he went and what he's
Yep.
doing and that type of a thing. So anyways, it was last minute well, I hadn't invited him, one of the other days, probably the one I think you and Tom did Tuesday, right? You did Tuesdays?
We do Wednesday and Saturday.
You do Wednesday? Okay.
So those
And
are the
he
best.
couldn't make it. And it was like an hour before last night. And I said, hey, can you jump on here in an hour? Yeah, I can do that, and sent it right over to him. And he was on there. Since we have these nice tracking tools now, you can see who gets on their calls,
Yep.
kind of a thing. And we've arranged to have a meeting on Monday. So,
And it's not random, Joy, because you've been consistent with your quotes going out there. And whether you think people are watching you or not, they're watching you.
hmm
You know, so
yeah,
put good vibes out there. I did think today about from Anchorman that wrong. I'm kind of a big deal, and I went the gratitude movement. It's kind of a big deal as the little typed on
yeah,
the page, and like we need to get it out there, and not be afraid to talk about it. And it is a great thing, and it does great things for your business or yourself if you're in gratitude. So,
yeah, absolutely,
all
absolutely.
right,
And if you don't have gratitude in your tagline for any networking, you got to get it in there. Get it
I'm
somewhere.
having hats made that say got gratitude,
Yeah, yeah,
like
just get
got
it
milk.
somewhere out there. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, say it. So, but anyways, okay,
All right.
cool. Good seeing you
Thank you.
guys. Sean,
Yep.
great seeing you as always. And
Absolutely.
we'll see you guys next time.
See
Take
you next
care.
week. Bye.
Grateful for you.
Absolutely. Thank you.